Episodes of the Green Corn Rebellion Show are sponsored by Oklahoma Progress Now. Oklahoma Progress Now is a 501c4 organization focused on building progressive power in Oklahoma. Their primary efforts are on developing progressive content for a 21st century audience, coalition, and capacity building across progressive organizations and causes, and working to see elected leaders who are more responsive to their constituents and the needs of the many. Areas of focus include progressive messaging and communications, coalition building and resource sharing, and focused progressive policy goals. You can check out their Twitch live streams, and they go live on Facebook at noon, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Please support this organization. It's a really great organization. It's just getting started here in Oklahoma. Thank you. Now enjoy the rest of the video. Hello, this is the Green Corn Rebellion Show, and today I am here with Rachel McCartney. She is a comedian and Twitter superstar. How are you doing today?
Oh, superstar. I thought you had influencer numbers for that, but thank you. I'll take it. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me back.
You're welcome. Thank you for doing this again after the first time wasn't that great.
I felt so awkward about it because I was just like, oh man, I love this Twitter. I feel like we should be getting along, and then we aren't. And then I watched the video and I saw how bad the lag was, and I was just like, oh my god, he is knocking it out of the park. For how like unwatchable and like how he can't really tell what I'm saying, and I'm accidentally interrupting him all the time.
Yeah, thank you for I knocked it out of the park, I guess. I don't know. I just kind of felt a little awkward about it. But so first question I have here is where are you from and where did you grow up? And tell me a little bit about your childhood.
All right, I grew up in the Chicago area, northern suburbs. So I was born. First place I lived was Evanston, which is where Northwestern University is. Um, and then moved to Skokie, which was the site of it has per capita, I think, the highest Jewish population in the U.S. And what Skokie is known for is the Nazis marched there once, and the ACLU had to defend them.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, or I've heard about that. That's
Yeah.
Yeah. So what
And,
got
I don't know how it turned out, but that Harper's letter hadn't come out yet, so.
Mm-hmm. So what got you into comedy?
Sorry, I feel the need to complete that and say until high school I lived in Wilmette. I don't want to be accused of pretending like I didn't live in Wilmette because it's a ritzier place. Okay, what got me into comedy? I saw an article a little bit after I graduated college that was called "How to Make a Rape Joke," and it was after the Daniel Tosh controversy. And just one of the videos that was linked was of someone doing amateur comedy in Chicago. And that made me realize you can do amateur comedy in Chicago. And so I went out and I decided to do it. And I was really bad at it at first, but then I got better. And it is 7 years later now, and I still don't have a career. But hope springs eternal. Even the apocalypse, hope springs eternal.
That's interesting. So who are some of your biggest influences when it comes to your comedy? Because you tend to have pretty dark jokes that get people mad on Twitter, and those are some of my favorite tweets that you have.
Thank you. Related to that, I'm a huge Anthony Jeselnik fan. I listened to his first 2 albums on repeat pretty soon after starting, and that like really taught me how to write a misdirect. And that's a skill that once you master it, you can't make necessarily a career off of just that, but you can get booked at bar shows at on a second tier comedy scene pretty regularly. And when you're 23 years old, those may as well be the same things.
That's interesting. Has the coronavirus inspired your comedy at all, or has it, what is this question? Has the coronavirus inspired your comedy at all, and also, what have you been doing since you can't do shows anymore?
I've just been tweeting like crazy and wondering why I'm depressed.
Yeah, because, what was it? You just got done with a break, a 19-day break on Twitter, and you had two tweets. I can't remember what they said, but you ended up doing real good numbers on both of them, and I was like, wow, how are you just now knocking it out of the park with two good tweets? And like, had you really had them like saved up for like a couple of weeks, and you were just ready
to
them? Like,
please. I mean, what if you're a poster? You will write posts in your head even if you're not posting.
Yeah, you'll save them in the Twitter drafts. Like, for me, like, I'll think of something, but like I won't have it completely thought out entirely or worded right. So I'll put down some of what I'm thinking, and then I'll just save it, and I'll go back to it like a week or two later, and I'm like, I have no idea what I was trying to say here, but like I'll just save it and see what happens. Like, does that ever happen with you?
I would say that happens more for me with stand-up back when that existed. I would have like an idea and be like, I don't know how to execute this yet. But with Twitter, honestly, ideas just feel so disposable, and I'm so used to instant gratification that if there's something there and I can't figure it out pretty quickly, I'm just like, fuck it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so do you have a favorite joke you've told, or even a favorite tweet that you've had, since the vast majority of your tweets tend to be jokes?
My tweets tend to be jokes when I am being wise. Anytime I just like start setting forth opinions, my notifications tab just sucks, and I'm like, well, I did this to myself. I don't know why. But yeah, I probably my favorite tweet is my pin tweet, which is why it's my pin tweet. Yeah, should I recite my pin tweet? I'm not going to pretend like I don't know what it is.
Okay, what is it? Because I was about to find it.
It is, before coffee, I want to die. After coffee, all right, let's buy the rope.
Yes, it's that one. I remember that one. That's a good one. I don't know if this was like a general thing that was happening, or it just so happened to be what I was reading on my timeline. There was people who were like talking about how South Park is so awful, and it's the reason why we have anti-Semitism and racism in the world today, or something like that. And I was like, no, I don't think so, because I watched that show as a kid, and I did not grow up to be a racist or an anti-Semite. I don't think you guys understood the point of South Park exactly. But yeah, but like it was just like some people, they don't quite understand certain comedy, or they take it too seriously and miss the point. And it's like, okay, but like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think South Park is like so brilliant, and I can't I'm not gonna say that it's never offensive to anyone, but I'll say, like, as a gay person, their episodes they've done on gay issues are like some of the funniest fucking things to me I've ever seen. Like the one where Mrs. Garrison becomes a lesbian is just like I die. It's so funny. And then I just watched one the other day where it's about yaoi.
Mm-hmm.
So the Asian girls at the elementary school just start drawing Tweak and Craig as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole conceit of it is just like, well, now the adults think that Asians decide who's gay. It's on it's just like, it's so funny. And when they have to like fake come out, their parents just like give them $100 because they're so proud. It's like, this is brilliant satire, and anybody who has a problem with this is just like has no sense of humor and is operating from a place of such bad faith.
For real, like, and I think in some ways, like, South Park over the years, like, I don't know what it is, because, like, maybe it's, like, an age thing, but, like, I remember, one of my professors in college told me that, like, their friends who teach English in high school they couldn't use South Park as like a proper usage of satire to the kids, because the kids like didn't understand it, or they took it too seriously or something. Like I was like I'm confused. Like, is it the world is just so weird as it is to them now that like South Park can't be looked at as like a joke? Or is it just like they're too young to get it? Because like that's when I watched South Park the most, was when I was in high school, and I understood it. Like I didn't miss the point, but like but I don't know. Like maybe there's an age gap there that like I'm missing or we're missing. I don't know, but I thought that was pretty funny when one of my professors told me that. I was like, that's kind of odd. Like South Park is ridiculous. How do they look at that and not see the ridiculousness of it? But yeah,
Yeah. Well, you're one of the good Zoomers.
thank you. I've been told that before, and I will own it. I'm one of the Zoomers that grew up listening to Limp Bizkit, so therefore I'm better than everyone. No, I'm kidding. Well,
That's a Zoomer attitude either way.
My final question here is, what kind of music do you listen to, or have you been listening to lately?
I've gotten really into Boy Genius recently, and the three artists who make up that indie supergroup. So that is most of what I did recreationally over my Twitter break, was just like, well, I've discovered new music again. Good, I did it. We can put off more new music for another 5 years. I think I'm good.
What did you grow up listening to as like a teenager? What was some of that stuff you listened to?
As a teenager, God. I mean, I feel like I would be embarrassed to say. You know what? I'll be vulnerable. When I was when I was 14, I discovered Coldplay and I liked it, and my dad was embarrassed for me. And he was
Mm-hmm.
like, if you, but he phrased it real gently. He was like, if you like that, you might also want to try Radiohead. And I
Mm-hmm.
did. And then I never listened to Coldplay again.
That's interesting. That's kind of like me with Evanescence and Lacuna Coil. Like, I'm sure you know who Evanescence is,
Yeah,
right?
I don't know Lacuna Coil though.
Yeah, well, whenever I explain Lacuna Coil to people, I usually just say, oh, they're like the better Italian version of Evanescence. So I had this whole big Evanescence phase when I was like 15, 14 or so. And then I got into Lacuna Coil a couple of years later, and then never went back to Evanescence at all. And I just got super hard into Lacuna Coil and bought all their albums on CD, by the way.
Nice.
And yeah, so I feel that like a kind of like some people, they'll start out their punk phase with like Green Day, but then they'll end with like Sex Pistols or Dead Kennedys or something.
Totally. I
Like,
mean, I'm not upset at the glow up at all. It's so funny to me that my dad
mm-hmm.
was like, you should get into Radiohead. And I was like, okay, Dad. It feels very anti Radiohead.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because I've never really been into either Coldplay or Radiohead. I only know like one song by each of those bands. Probably know a
Yeah.
couple of others. Like I just know one song by name by each group. I've been told I need to listen to more Radiohead though, so maybe I should. You're like the second guest who's come on here talking about Radiohead. Maybe the third. I don't know. Someone directly told me I needed to go listen to Radiohead, and I still haven't. So, and it
Radiohead
was
is
a
really
comedian.
interesting.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, because it is about a world that doesn't exist anymore. Um, but like it's directly talking about all the problems that led to the dystopia we're in now. You know, like it was all about like modern alienation and how much it sucks to like work for a boss who doesn't give a shit about you, and just how we're also like isolated and shit, and all of those like problems have, back when it was like the 90s or the early 2000s, it just felt like that was modernity and that was how it was going to be forever. But now we're like in the collapse. So I feel like that kind of music is like kind of interesting to like listen back to and be like, okay, this is where this hell came from.
Hmm. That's interesting. Like the only thing I would say I've listened to that was close to Radiohead was a band called Deftones, and I think people have said that they're the Radiohead of heavy metal, and I never understood what people meant by that. I guess musically, I guess I don't know, but I know lyrically, probably not, because that doesn't sound like anything Deftones talks about. But that's still interesting. I need to check them out.
OK Computer is the album I would recommend, and it's also the one that just like everybody knows.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all the questions I have here. Thank you for coming on. Where can we find you on social media and whatnot, and your website?
I am at Rachel M Comedy. I have no show dates whatsoever because of coronavirus, so my website is irrelevant. And thank you so much for having me back. This was so much fun.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on again.
All right. Well, happy core. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks. Bye.